Hi, everybody. Tom Leahy with Optomed, and I'm joined today by.
Candace Suarez, also with Optomed.
Hey, we were just talking. Today's the last day of school,
It
and
is.
your
Yeah.
son is going to be in high school.
My son is now probably, since it's noon and it's a half day, my son is now officially a high schooler. So I get to start focusing on the whole college planning process, which is kind of amazing to me.
Really?
Yeah,
Hey, well, it's exciting.
it
So
is exciting. Yeah.
yeah, so we wanted to talk about today some of the things that are sort of up in the air, things that are still swirling around when it comes to college admissions in the light of what's happened with the pandemic and looking forward. And one of those things is standardized testing.
Mm.
And so we wanted to kind of discuss today what that looks like. I think probably most important for seniors as they approach their, the senior year and the admissions process, but also important for juniors, I think, coming
Hmm.
up to that point and needing to understand exactly what that what that looks like and what they should be thinking about when it comes to the admissions process and standardized testing. So that's what we want to deal with. So I think first thing folks need to understand is that only about 50%, despite what we hear, only about 50% of all the colleges and universities have actually gone test optional or test flexible. And we'll talk about those terms in a minute. So I think what one walks away from knowing that is the idea that if you're not certain where you're going to apply, what schools you're going to apply to, so you can check to see what their actual policy is on testing, it's probably not a good idea to ignore
Right.
taking tests.
Yeah,
It's
because
just not true.
the worst case scenario would be you discover a school that really, checks all your boxes and you find out that they do want the SAT scores and you haven't prepared and haven't done them and you have to scramble around quick and look for a last minute test site and that anxiety is something that you don't need to put on yourself if you
Yeah.
plan ahead. Yeah.
So if you're a senior right now, have graduated, I mean,
Rising senior.
rising senior, yeah, rising senior,
Yeah.
looking at the fall, I mean, you still have an opportunity to test,
Yes.
at the end of this, into summer, beginning of fall. So it's not a lost cause at this point, but,
Mhm.
you need to consider that if you haven't already. And if you did take tests this spring, take a look at them, determine whether or not you think you would like to try again and maybe do better. Senior,
Mhm.
you have an opportunity to do that as well. So for seniors, that's what you need to be thinking about. Juniors, the word on the street is that some of the schools are not planning to stay test
Right.
option flexible. Even a
Right.
number of the more prestigious schools have stated that they don't plan to maintain that policy.
Right. So they're going to expect the SATs after, after
Maybe
the
after
next
next
year.
year or something.
Right.
So
So
the next
those
admissions,
entering college in 2023
right?
would need to really be prepared to submit test scores.
Yeah, and you think about it, it's understandable that to for the admissions process in today's environment where there's
Yeah.
thousands of applications being submitted, to give up something that is something quantifiable like test scores that is easy to use to separate applications. Why
Mhm.
would a school give that up, even
Right.
despite all the conversation about, well, some kids don't test well and
Right.
etc. For that poor admissions person who is having to vet all those applications, that makes life, somewhat
It
easier.
does. It's just an easier discriminator and putting them in different piles based upon that and then re-examining. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're not asking for or requiring test scores, so they're leaning much more heavy on the other pieces of the application then too, Tom, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you have to consider if your school is, well, let's talk about, when we say test optional, that's the term everybody uses, but there's test optional and there's test flexible. So what's the difference? Test optional means that you don't have to submit your scores. If you do, they'll be looked at. Test flexible means that there's some other requirement attached to not submitting, your test scores. Like you have to have a certain level of GPA, that sort of thing, in order to not submit your scores.
Okay.
So how do you determine if school is test optional whether or not to submit your scores? I think you really have to make kind of a subjective judgment based upon what we know is to be the performance of that school's freshman profile, which you can find,
Right.
At the College Board or whatever, and compare, your performance to their, top 75 percentile. And, if you're there and you have good scores, competitive scores in that regard, then I would submit them. If not, I would, I wouldn't. But to make sure, as you indicated, that there's other pieces of the admissions of the application that you need to make sure that you're shoring up and doing an excellent job on, like your essay.
Making sure you have a really strong personal statement. I know we spent another live episode talking about the essay, but that's, an area where you can shine without the test scores. Having a good, robust resume and the extracurriculars and the activities and things like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, this is an opportunity to point out, when we talk about resume and things other than academics, it's important to understand that the more prestigious a school is, the more they lean on the resume.
Right.
Yes, you have to have top-notch academics. That's what opens the door. These schools, but it's what else you bring to the equation that gets you selected.
Yeah, how you're going to, contribute to their campus life. Yeah.
That's why I always hear people, gosh, Johnny got a perfect score on his SAT and he didn't get into, this school or that school or whatever.
Right.
That's because the only thing he brought to the table was probably that 1600.
Was that 1600? Yeah.
And these schools are looking for people who are bringing things there that will maintain their prestige.
Yeah.
And so these kids are prestigious in their own right in terms of things that they've accomplished to that point. So
exactly.
To keep that in mind. So, yeah. So
but Tom, we at OptimumEd, we are here to walk with the family and help them sort through all of this stuff, right?
I forgot all about that. Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. That's what we do, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to know what your school policy is, and if you want to help with navigating the whole admissions process, reach out to us. We can have that conversation.
Yeah.
It's what we're all about.
Yes, it is. Yep.
So, keep in mind what we've talked about with the SATs. Questions, give us a call. You can call us at the office, 804-417-4807. Or you can, just go to our website, contact us through our website, OptimumEdCenter.com. Yeah. And with that, Candace and I will let you get back to your day, and we'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.